I think if we look at the mainstream media, we can see every week just how crooked they are, just how twisted their narratives are. I want to talk about Joe Biden for a minute. And instead of being like, oh, haha, creepy Uncle Joe, just sleepy, creepy Uncle Joe, he's at it again. No, this is really concerning to me. It's concerning to me because I watched the whole entire Kavanaugh hearing. I've never seen anything like it. And my reaction to it was very much like what Lindsey Graham's was.
And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham. That you knew about it and you held it. Destroy the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap. Your high school yearbook. You have interacted with professional women all your life, not one accusation. To my Republican colleagues, if you vote no, you're legitimizing the most despicable thing I have seen in my time in politics. You want this seat? I hope you never get it. I hope you're on the Supreme Court. That's exactly where you should be. And I hope that the American people will see through this charade.
Firstly, I identified with his emotion. Like, this is ridiculous. How could we be doing this to this man? These allegations took place in the 80s. How were we supposed to take this seriously when Christine Liar Ford couldn't even remember any details besides like very fuzzy ones, and she had absolutely no one to back up anything that she said. And yet, this was all over the news. I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent here, but you guys remember this. You remember how it was covered. And hopefully you were just as disgusted and outraged as I was. I wish I had a YouTube channel back then. I wish that I could have made my voice heard about how ridiculous, disgusting, outrageous, frustrating, how this whole thing went down. Part of the reason why I voted for Trump was because I wanted conservatives, or at least people that will follow the Constitution, to be representing us in the Supreme Court. I don't want activists. I want judges. And I want judges that are going to base their decisions on the law, which also has to do very strongly with our Constitution, how it's written and how it's implemented. I don't want an activist. RGB is an activist. I hate making all these cuts, you guys. I'm sorry, but my arm got really, really tired. My dad got me a selfie stick at one point, and I was like, what the heck am I going to do with this thing? Kavanaugh's hearing was a abomination. The fact that there were women outside protesting constantly about a 30-plus-year-old charge of assault is mind-boggling. I'm a very different person than I was 10 years ago. Extremely different. My ideals are different. My morals are different. I've grown up. I'm different from the person I was 10 years ago. So you better believe a lot of other people are. Most people are not the same people that they were 10 years ago. And that's part of life. And that's part of growing up. And it makes sense. So should we really hold people responsible for who they were 20 years ago? I don't know. Again, this is a discussion that we need to have that we have never had, and I don't understand why. It's such a taboo subject, I guess. But if we're going to put it all over the newspapers, and we're going to speculate about it, and we're going to use unnamed sources for our proof, I guess, of sexual assaults, and couldn't escape Kavanaugh. It was everywhere. This was just a couple of years ago. Now we've got a Me Too with Joe Biden. It's a Me Too moment that is pretty disgusting and terrifying if you were to find yourself in this situation. Now, I have no proof. All I can go by is the sincerity in someone's voice when they're telling a story. And as an empath, I can tell you that I really felt for this woman, as opposed to me listening to Christine Blasey Ford about what happened to her. It didn't feel right. It didn't sound right. It kind of seemed rehearsed. The emotion, the sincerity, the trauma, it wasn't there. For this new accusation against Joe Biden, the trauma is there. The shake in the voice, the fear of what will happen if you open up and tell your story about such a powerful man now who is literally the nominee for the Democratic Party. I could hear it. I could hear her terror. I could hear her trauma. I could hear pain. And I could pick up on the pain. This woman, all she was doing was bringing him, I believe it was his gym bag. She brought him his gym bag. And he was like, come here. So she comes over there, and I don't think she'd ever really met him before, and he's a powerful man, and she was supposed to bring his stuff to him, so of course she comes over. Obviously, she wants to keep her job. She wants her boss to be happy. So she just stood there and took it when he put his hands up her skirt and literally put his fingers in her, put his hands up there, and went all the way up there, if you know what I mean. I'm disgusted. Like, all the women that said, oh, kissy, kissy Trump, he made me kiss him, blah, blah, blah. I haven't heard anything as disgusting and disturbing as this story this woman told about her experience with Joe Biden. And then what she said after he stopped and took his hands out. Oh, come on. I thought you liked me. Does that not sound like something Joe Biden would say? Because to me, it sounds exactly like what he would say. His personality is like that. Oh, don't take it seriously. I thought you liked me. My bad. Ha ha ha. My heart goes out to this woman because I believe her. I believe this is what happened to her. I try to put myself in her shoes, and it's a terrifying place. And it's a place of anger. Especially since the media isn't covering it. If they are, it's barely getting covered. Nowhere near Kavanaugh. Nowhere near the amount of time they gave Deborah Ramirez, who didn't deserve any time. She was ridiculous stories. She was treated with respect, and she was all over the place, giving interviews, basically lying. We know she was lying. She was given more credibility than this woman who's trying to explain that the next president, she's trying to explain who the potential next president of the United States is, who he really is, what he really does. We know he sniffs hair. We know he touches people inappropriately. We know he acts really strange. And like I said, I believe her. I think this is a pattern of behavior that he probably had throughout his whole entire political career. And I think that he got away with it over and over and over again. And I really hope that if there's another woman that had this happen to her, that she comes forward. Because this story needs to be told if it has happened to someone else. If this had happened to you, and you basically got no coverage, even though you have the hottest scoop about the Democratic nominee, if you have the hottest scoop and nobody wants to talk to you, nobody wants to interview you, no one wants to ask you questions, no one wants to check on the validity of what you have to say, it's just ignored, it's just swept under the rug, it's like it never happened. But it did happen. And it still hurts years later, decades later. It still hurts her. I think she's extremely brave for opening up and telling people about what happened to her. It's incredibly embarrassing to be violated like that. It's not her fault. But I bet you anything she felt like she did something to signal that that was okay to Joe Biden. And you didn't. I really, really hope that he doesn't win the presidency. I pray to God that he does not become our president. Because I think then We have lost all manners. We have lost all manners of critical thinking. We don't have what is true empathy. We don't know fact from fiction. And we're going to have a president who basically doesn't know where he is, what he's doing. Can't tell his wife from his sister. Can't tell his wife from his sister. Called the Wuhan virus the Luhan virus. There's so many things to list that I'm just like beyond. I mean, somebody that's in front of the live stream doesn't really know how to end a live stream, has to have his wife go and take him off the screen. Like, come on, honey, let's go here. This guy has so many problems. There's so many problems with nominating him. I really hope that this video might speak to a few women or even men that have the empathy to feel what it's like to be a woman who is essentially assaulted by someone in a position of power. It is not a good place to be. It is scary. It is lonely. People don't believe you. And you hold it inside for years and years and years. So think about what it does to you on the inside when you've gone through this and people won't listen or don't believe you. Because the person that you're talking about who did this to you is extremely powerful. It is a scary place to be. My heart is breaking that this woman isn't being taken seriously. She's not being listened to. My heart is breaking that this woman isn't being taken seriously. She's not being listened to. Now we have the proof that Kavanaugh's case did not have. We have a phone call to the Larry King Show in 1993 about a woman who said her daughter had a situation with a well-known senator, politician, personality. I'm not exactly sure how she put it. But she basically said she no longer works with this person. Nobody will listen to her when she tries to tell them what happened. Turns out that this call is supposedly Tara Reide's mom in 1993 calling about her daughter. Yeah. So I think this adds even more legitimacy to what she said. Not only did Tara Reide say that she had witnesses who actually backed up her story, she also has her mom back in 1993 telling Larry King about what happened to her daughter and essentially asking him for a little bit of advice. So there you have it. I believe her. I believed her before this happened, and I believe her now. The plot thickens, Mr. Biden, and hopefully the clock is also ticking. Thanks for listening. God bless America. Bye.